You want a story that's so real, so raw, it feels like you're sitting across from me at a bar, glass of something good in hand, listening as I spill the whole ridiculous, infuriating, occasionally hilarious mess of what happened to me last year. Well, buckle up, because you ever wake up at sunrise, step outside to check your vineyard and find two armed HOA cops. Yeah, you heard me. HOA cops standing in the middle of your land. And the kicker, I don't even live in their HOA. Not even close. 3 days later, I had drones buzzing over my house, then hacking attempts on my internet, and some clown calling himself Sheriff Greg swearing he had jurisdiction over my soil. That's when I decided, you know what, maybe it's time to fight fire with a little gasoline. So I set a trap, the kind built just for a guy whose ego has its own zip code. And when Greg showed up, red-faced, shouting, and ripped open a bag he just knew was full of drugs, boom, white powder everywhere right in his eyes, that's when the real cops pulled out the cuffs. But let me back up a sec. Sunrise on my land is a quiet kind of beautiful. The light moves slow, soft, like it's trying not to wake anything before it's ready. Dew hangs off the vines like broken glass scattered across a field, and there's this hush. You only notice it if you've lived long enough to understand peace is a temporary thing. That morning, I was tightening up trellis wire, listening to the ground crack under my boots when I spotted something wrong. Two shapes, silhouettes standing dead center in my vineyard like they owned the place. First thought, maybe lost hikers or overzealous bird watchers. Hey, it happens out here. But hikers don't move like they're clearing rooms, and bird watchers don't carry sidearms and discount holsters. Their uniforms were almost police, almost security cheap patches shaped like badges, but with a little pine tree, and the words Lakeside Bluffs Community Enforcement Unit. Yeah, community enforcement. I nearly laughed, but my jaw just clenched instead, because Lakeside Bluffs is a quarter-mile down the road behind pastel houses and a million rules about what color you can paint your damn garage. My land never been HOA, never will be. So I stepped forward, boots crunching. They turned. One flashed a clipboard, the other fussed with his belt, making sure I noticed his sidearm. The tall one had sunglasses, a haircut straight from the military, and a posture that screamed trying too hard. I asked what they were doing. He said, routine perimeter inspection, sir, part of the HOA safety initiative. I actually laughed this time. This land isn't HOA, I told him. He shot a look to his buddy like I just didn't get how the world works. Sir, your property borders the community. That grants us secondary jurisdiction for safety reviews. I just stared. Is that what they're calling trespassing now? His smile vanished. The partner hit a button on his body cam, off-brand, on backwards, not even recording. These weren't cops. They were actors, and I'd spent enough of my life reading Liars to know the type. I didn't tell them who I used to be, just pointed down the drive. Out. He started his script about refusal to cooperate, but I just stepped forward, one of those steps that says, we're done here. They hesitated, then turned and walked. I watched them all the way to the road, not blinking until they were out of sight. Thing is, trouble never rolls in with sirens. It comes quiet, disguised as paperwork and fake authority. I knew those two weren't the story, they were the preview. And I was right. 2 days after that inspection, I'm near the front gate when I hear the crunch of heavy tires SUV, not a sedan, not a delivery truck. A silver Tahoe, old but trying to look official. Out steps a man who maybe played linebacker 20 years ago, now a little too soft for the uniform. Aviator's faded sheriff's patch, all attitude. Name's Greg Wallace, he says, community enforcement captain for Lakeside Bluffs. I repeat it back deadpan. Community enforcement captain, that's something they print on business cards. His jaw twitches, bingo. He starts up with the jurisdiction spiel. I tell him again my land isn't HOA. He leans into the gate eyes, trying to weigh me up. You're close enough, he says. Means I get to take a look when I need to. I stare at his hand on my gate, then up at him. This gate opens for real law enforcement, not HOA make-believe. That stings him. You refusing an official safety inspection? I just smile. I'm refusing a guy in costume who wants to play cop on my property. His sunglasses slide up, and I see the anger in his eyes. Old anger, like he's lost something he can't get back. He huffs and walks away, but not before warning. If something happens, remember, I tried to keep things safe. Safe for who I ask. No answer. And then the anonymous complaints start. First about firearms in public view, except my gun cabinet's locked and hidden unless you stand just right. The sheriff's deputy is embarrassed, says he'll mark it as a non-issue. 48 hours later, alcohol odor drifting into the neighborhood. I run a vineyard. Wine is literally in the air. Same deputy, more embarrassed. He levels with me. Somebody's messing with you. I nod. We both know who. But the calls don't stop. The HOA pressure turns into flyers, warnings, then cameras. Actual cameras start popping up, first in the utility poles, then half hidden in trees pointed right at my porch, each one stamped with that ridiculous pine tree logo. It's surveillance theater, and Greg's the director, but he's not working alone. Neighbors start looking at me like I'm a villain. Mailboxes fill up with HOA threats. My vineyard, my piece, is turning into a stage for their control fantasy. So I document everything. Photos, timestamps, videos. And I start noticing there's someone else behind all this, someone who understands bureaucracy. Because when I finally catch the volunteer with the clipboard trembling on my porch, he breaks. Tells me Greg's got something on Karen, the HOA president, illegal contracts, kickbacks, hush money. He hands me a password and says, "You're the only one Greg can't intimidate." Now I know I'm not just fighting a clown with a badge. I'm up against a queen and her muscle. But see, I've been around. I know how to bait a trap. I stage a scene for their cameras, bags of mystery white powder, just yeast and fertilizer. But under the right lighting, who's to say I drop just enough lines for a microphone to catch, make it look suspicious, then let Greg's hacked feed see exactly what he wants. He bites, of course, calls in a raid. My friends are over for a barbecue, and suddenly the place lights up with red and blue. Real cops, this time tactical van, whole deal. Greg bursts in screaming, "I saw the drugs." Open the bags. He slices one open, gets a face full of yeast, stands there powdered white, howling for an arrest. But my buddy Andy, a real cop, is there. He asks Greg, how would you have footage from his cameras? Greg stammers about HOA oversight. Andy's not buying it. That's a felony, Greg. The cuffs come out. Greg's marched away a broken man, looking like a powdered donut with authority issues. But I'm not done. Next morning, I set up a table at the HOA entrance. Invite the local paper, the deputy, a few neighbors, and drop every piece of evidence I've collected. Emails, bank records, photos from inside the Miller's bedroom taken by Greg's hidden cameras. Karen's kickbacks. Her email clear as day. Find dirt on the winemaker so we can seize his land for expansion. People are shouting now. Karen tries to run, but you can't outrun paperwork. By sunrise, Greg and Karen are both in cuffs. Greg caught microwaving a hard drive in his boxers. Karen with 2 suitcases, one stuffed with cash, fleeing the state. They find Greg's command center, dozens of monitors, color-coded pins for compliant and watch list houses, weapons stash, zip ties, everything a man needs to play dictator. Court happens fast. Jury sees the videos, the logs, hears Travis's shaky voice reading Greg's words. Once I plant the evidence, the winemaker is gone. Karen's kickbacks. Greg's fantasy sheriff routine, guilty on 18 counts. 24 years for Greg. 18 for Karen, full restitution, ordered the HOA board dissolved on the spot. The day the judge bangs her gavel, the room actually erupts in applause. I walk out into the sun with Andy, the air tasting like freedom. 6 months later, the silence on my vineyard is finally just silence. No cameras, no drones, just wind and birds. Travis, the guy who never wanted power, gets elected HOA president. First act, abolish the enforcement squad. Folks wave when they walk by now, real waves. I hang a new sign at my gate, private property cameras recording sheriffs by appointment only. No HOA jurisdiction beyond this point. The best part, sunset comes, neighbors gather under the arbor for ribs and wine. Laughter, real laughter, floats into the dusk. I raise a glass to freedom, to boundaries, and to never letting small men play big cops. Glasses clink. The wine tastes like victory. I always thought the law was about lines, who's in, who's out. Turns out sometimes it's about having roots deep enough to hold when the storm comes. So let me ask you, where do you draw your lines? What would you do if someone tried to steal your piece with a badge they printed at Kinko's Go Ahead? I want to hear your story. Tell me what you do for justice.